Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be discussing a topic that affects a lot of people around the world, and that's how to deal with anxieties. We try to keep things fresh. So today we're going to be trying to give some logical advice, some helpful advice to persons out there who are so anxious about everyday life. Here with us today is Dr. Pernell Bell, a regional psychologist in her field that has over 20 years of experience. Welcome to our channel, Dr. Bell.
Thank you so very much, Sharika. I'm happy to be on your channel.
Dr. Bell, would you say that people have anything to be anxious about in these times that we're living in?
Sure, when we look around us, we see actually the whole world is in a pandemic. And that is cause for anxiety, to be truthful, because anxiety actually is really a natural response to perceived threat. And so, for example, a pandemic right now that is engulfing the world is a perceived threat. What we don't want, though, is for anxiety to become panic.
Mm-hmm.
Because when anxiety transitions into panic, it becomes a mental health issue or a mental disorder where persons are in a state of nervousness, a state of maybe being irrational, fearful, and all of those could affect the person's ability to function, whether socially or academically or occupationally. And so when that becomes a debilitating problem, that's when we are saying that anxiety now does not become that natural response, but transition into a mental health issue.
Thank you so much. So what you're saying that is that, if I get this straight, to correct me, is that a person should never feel ostracized or embarrassed to say that they're experiencing anxiety with their current situations that we're going through, or to even say that they're demonstrating symptoms of anxiety. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because anxiety really is the natural response to any threat. So every single human being at some point in their lives have experienced some level of anxiety. The anxiety that we don't want to entertain is an anxiety that is leading the person into an illness. And so this is what we need to recognize, that after we respond, it is said actually that the body's response to any threat comes in about 90 seconds. And after 90 seconds of responding to a threat, the body regulates itself. But if we continue to maintain the anxiety by the way we are thinking, our thought process is what is going to maintain the anxiety.
Thank you. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that anxiety actually has different levels.
Definitely. So anxiety can be the natural response to a threat. Then it subsides because we are built that way to regulate our anxiety. Anxiety then can move from mild to moderate to severe levels of anxiety. And when it reaches the severe level, it means that the person may be unable to function as efficiently as would a normal person. So that's the level of anxiety that we definitely would want to avoid.
So as a regular person, how can I know if I am going to that level of anxiety where I need to get some help, or that it's not just a regular anxiety that I can brush off or try to sleep off? What can I look for to know that I need to get professional help?
So that person may be constantly in a state of nervousness, shakiness, heart palpitation, panic attacks, fearfulness, fearing maybe being in social spaces, fearing objects, fearing things. And it could reach a stage where the person is unable to function in their substantive position, whether academic or occupational. And so if it is reaching that stage where the person is constantly in that state of anxiety and becoming fearful maybe to even venture outside of the house, then there's really cause for concern, and the person should now be conscious that they need to seek professional help.
Well, there are little things associated with seeking help, Dr. Bell, because a lot of persons associate the thought of ever having anxiety with being crazy. I'm sorry. So, what advice can you give to persons that don't want to seek help because they don't want to think or they don't want to be perceived that they are crazy? What advice could you give to such persons?
The World Health Organization says 1 in 4 persons will at least at some point in their lives experience a mental illness. 1 in 4.
Wow.
And so that's the prevalence of how mental illness is. So none of us are immune to experiencing a mental state at some point in time in our lives. We are humans first, and we go through a range of things that can take a toll on our nervous system. And once the nervous system is engaged and overactive, it's going to lead into a breakdown of that system. And so what I would say to everybody is that be conscious of your mental health, because if you're not, any one of us can experience a mental illness. There shouldn't be any stigma around it, because mental illness is just like you would have a medical condition like diabetes or hypertension or any other form of medical issue. Mental illness is just a breakdown in the mind and the brain, just like any other disorder or medical condition. So there shouldn't be any stigma. You shouldn't be afraid to come forward and say, this is how I'm feeling, and get the necessary help to help yourselves to get better, because you can get better with a combination of medication, maybe if it's has reached that level of severity, or psychotherapy, which is talk therapy, which would actually get to the bottom of what may be causing the stressors so that you can get help.
I'm really happy you shared that, because a lot of persons, again, may worry that being on medication, they will never be off medication. And I know that's been a lot on person's mind, that the medications themselves will cause you to be having some mental illness as a side effect. So it was really nice that you addressed that. Okay, so for persons who they're not at that level of anxiety where they are overwhelmed with fear or that it's very debilitating, but they're just having regular daily anxieties, are there any physical exercises or tips you can give them as to how to get out of that?
First of all, we remember earlier I told you that it takes 90 seconds for us to respond to perceive threat. And so thereafter, anxiety is actually maintained by the way we are thinking. So if we continue to think negatively, it could increase our levels of anxiety. So we want to be realistic as well as be realistically positive. So positive in the sense that we know and acknowledge what is happening, but find useful ways of dealing with the stressors, dealing with whatever it is that is creating the anxiety for us. And if we are in a state of anxiety, we can use deep breathing exercises, because what it does, it goes to the nervous system and helps us to regulate the anxiety that we are having in terms of our carbon dioxide and oxygen flow, to help us to release all the fears and anxiety and induce calm.
So can you show me an example of that deep breathing? What do I do? Like,
All right, so you would put your hand on your tummy, and at the count of 6, you could pull count of 6 that says 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and hold. And then on the count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale.
I think I actually held my breath for both of those 6 counts that you just did. Okay, so I put my hand on my tummy and then I hold it and then count to 6.
But slowly on the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on the count you go out and do that for some time until you feel calm. Another thing too, a very useful technique, is to practice what we call mindfulness. And mindfulness is actually staying in the moment that you're in. And many of us, we may not be in a threatening moment, but again, we're using our thoughts to go in the past or the future. We're worried about paying a bill. We're worried about not getting through to go X or Y place and so on, when the moment that we're in is not an anxiety producing moment. So mindfulness would help us to be grounded in the moment that we're in. Keep focus on that. And in many ways, that mindfulness will allay all that baggage that we would be carrying around with us, both the past and future baggages. And we'd stay in the present. If we do that on a daily basis, it could be one way of relieving anxiety. Another thing too is exercise, and making sure that, because exercise actually releases a chemical called endorphins, and endorphins are the happy chemicals, so it gives you that kind of a runner's high and keep you calm, and will again take away the anxiety. So also basically we can do simple meditation, and meditation is really helping to clear the mind. We tend to overthink. What meditation does is to clear the mind, and a simple exercise is just movement of the head forward and backward, and side to side, and then round and round several times, and stop and hum to yourself. And that in itself will clear the mind, take away all the issues that are there, and help you to maintain your calm.
So by humming, what we're doing is removing all those negative thoughts and replacing them with a positive thought. So it's like we're doing an exchange of thoughts.
Yes.
Sweeping the house, so to speak.
Cobwebs.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Bell. Those were really helpful thoughts. I will definitely have to try to remember that deep breathing exercise, and also to practice whenever negative thoughts come to my mind and I get anxious, to sweep my mind out with the negative thoughts and replace it with clean furniture, clean positive thoughts. Another thought I have found to be very beneficial is to, as you mentioned, meditate on positive things. For spiritual persons, for me, I just look at nature and I appreciate what the Creator has done for us. And I am a Christian, so I read my Bible. And so for persons who have a spiritual background, it's good to turn to this source for comfort as well.
Yeah.
And supportive family members. They are actually very helpful. Well, guys, you heard it from the psychologist herself. Stop worrying. If you do have anxiety that needs help, there's nothing wrong with getting help. It doesn't have to be a permanent solution, but if you need help, it is very advised that you do get help. And you saw, we just shared some helpful tips that can help you to get through daily anxieties. Thank you very much once more for joining the channel, and stay tuned for when we can bring you more amazing tips, tricks, and ideas to your home.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
All right. So in view, and let me know. I'm going to start and then I'm going to click on you. All right.
Sharika, I'm sorry. Can you break it? I need to turn on a light.
I was about to, I'm here thinking to myself, how can I brighten up this thing?
Stop it. Stop it.
Well, we will see how that turn out.
Look at it.